Hi everybody, it's Dana. One more video for today and then I think I'm going to take a break. I wanted to chat about bringing home that new dog and vaccines. If you are getting a puppy, so there is a general protocol of giving puppies vaccinations. Usually they get a series of shots. It's often multiple shots at one time. A few weeks later, they get a booster of those shots. And then sometimes even they get another booster at 6 months or 5 months along with their rabies shots. There are a number of expert veterinarians in the holistic space who are telling us we are giving too much at the same time, right? So one of the things I want you all to think about is when it's time for that rabies vaccination, and generally state laws require that we all have it, don't give it at the same time that the parvo, distemper, bordetella type shots or vaccinations are being given. Separate them out at least 2 to 3 weeks apart. Your veterinarian is going to want you to give them simultaneously because it's more convenient. They can do it, all at the same time and send you on your way. They're really concerned that you won't come back for the follow-up, right? So keep that in mind. But we've got to start helping our dogs' bodies process what's going in, what's required by law, and trying to keep them as healthy as we can. That's a lot of vaccine happening to a small, young body, okay? So things that you can do to support the fact that we have to have vaccinations are really to emphasize a boost of immunity in your pet, starting with the moment you have them, right? So for puppies, we can start looking at ways to boost their immunity nutritionally and with the essential oils that offer us immunity boosting support, right? We can help support them by minimizing all the other chemical exposures or harsh chemical exposures that exist in our home, right? So eliminate all the crap. You've heard me talk about that. It's the plug-ins and the fabric sprays and the household cleaners that are harsh and potentially toxic, right? So get those out of the system so that they are not part of the compounding problem, not part of that compounding chemical load on the dog's body. And then separate out those shots. When it is vaccination time, there are essential oils and homeopathy products that we can use that support the liver and the kidneys, because it's going to have to do the waste management of the things that are going in as additives into that vaccine. And there's a lot of them, right? So we can use essential oils or homeopathic based products to support the liver and the kidneys the day of, the day before, and for a couple of weeks beyond the vaccination delivery. That's a super important thing to do, along with helping to boost the immunity, right? If you've got an adult dog that you've brought in, think about a dog that was stray. I'm looking at the situation down in Wilmington and on the East Coast now with all these dogs that have been found or rescued from Florence, the hurricane. They've now gone into rescue with no history of vaccination, no history. So they're going to get a new round of shots. That could be potentially an over-vaccination, right? They could be totally current on their vaccines, and now they're about to get vaccinated again. So those dogs, in my mind, need support for the liver and the kidneys and perhaps an entire detox diet for a while to support and to help get the body and the system sort of back in balance. But when it's vaccine time for your dog, a couple things to keep in mind: separate them out. In other words, don't give rabies and parvo distemper at the same time. Don't do it under a surgical procedure. Don't do it when they are under dire straits, dire stress, right? So I get it. I understand why these dogs being pulled into shelters are having to get vaccines. Our laws require it, but they're under stress. And so now we're putting a tax on the body, right? We're stressing that body even further. So it's important when we as foster homes, rescuers, and things of that nature see these animals, that we look at what can we do to help detox, help support, help cleanse, and move those things on forward, right? So just keep all this stuff in mind as you're thinking about what your vaccine schedule is. I'll remind you too at this point that we can look at titering our dogs, right? We can look at doing a titer test, which tests to see if our animals are producing the antibodies. That means they are protected from, or the vaccine is still working, but that they are protected from the risk of parvo, distemper, and rabies, for example. If they are producing antibodies, they technically do not need a booster shot. They don't need it, right? So we can deny a parvo and distemper booster. The law says we cannot deny a rabies shot, that we have to get them at least every 3 years. So your puppy is going to get one at 5 months. I am seeing some rescue groups deliver them at around 4 months. That's too early, right? It's too early. They're going to get one at 6 months. 1 year later, they will get another, right? And then they're on the 3-year schedule, usually. Now, rescue groups have sometimes a different schedule for that. We have to understand and respect that they have different constraints and limitations sometimes based on budget and whatnot. So I totally understand that. But chances are, once your dog has been vaccinated the very first time, he will never need another one. His body will produce antibodies for the rest of his life, but yet we're going to at least give him 2 more shots, right? Our veterinarians, they have to get a rabies shot to practice veterinary medicine, but they titer themselves every year and generally do not ever get another rabies vaccine, because the vaccine is it's doing its job forever, right? You also need to know that the rabies vaccine itself is only 88% effective, meaning even though we're all getting vaccinated, if you have not actually titered your dog, there's a 12% possibility that the vaccine didn't work, right? Now, the chances of that happening if you're getting it every 3 years are really small, but in those first periods or early periods, there's a possibility that the vaccine failed altogether, right? So there are a lot of people working to try and educate on the rabies vaccine, try to get some of those laws changed so that the titer could be honored. My state, North Carolina, does not honor the titer, at least not that I'm aware of at this time. And so Poppy, for example, I worry, a lot of people have said, I'm never going to give my dog a rabies shot. I'm never going to give them the vaccine. I personally, at this time, cannot subscribe to that. And it's not because I fear her not being vaccinated. It's because I fear that if there were an incident and I pulled out my titer report and the state said, sorry, that doesn't count, they would seize my dog even though she's fully protected, right? Even though she's fully vaccinated. So her breed, being a pit bull, I don't trust people, right? I don't trust people. And so the fact that I take her to a ton of places, she's off leash at the beach. We go on hikes at the dog park. You know, there's a free roaming dog parks that we go to. I don't trust that somebody someday won't accuse my pit bull, who would never hurt anybody, of doing something, right? So that worries me, and I can't put her at risk of saying I didn't protect her that way. So she has to get her vaccines. The weenie dogs are little senior citizens. They're like 14 and 15 years old. They're not going to get any more ever. So that is what it is. If your dog is bitten by another dog, right, that cannot prove proof of rabies, your dog will have to get a booster shot and be quarantined for a period of time. So just be aware of that as well. This is why people are fighting so hard to try and get some of these laws changed. So look into participating in things like the Rabies Challenge, the Rabies Challenge with Dr. Jean Dodds, and Protect the Pets with Dr. John Robb, R-O-B-B, and try and help sort of these leading veterinarians across the country do things that will support us changing the laws that are potentially creating some serious health issues for our dogs, right? So the point is, if they didn't need the vaccine because it was already working, and we do another, we are then over vaccinating, which is creating these taxes on the body that can be really, really detrimental. So when it's time for vaccines, separate them apart. You can give no, that's wrong. Parvo and distemper are generally always given together. Don't do it at the same time you do rabies. Separate those out. And for every vaccination, get really proactive about supporting the immunity of the dog's body, and then do things that support the kidney and the liver day before, day of, and several days after. If you feel that there is a problem with potential over-vaccination, or we start seeing behavioral issues there, y'all, I've seen it, what I call rabies rage. Some of you may have seen this. It's rare, but I've seen it where they get a vaccination and their behavior is wicked ugly after, sometimes not able to be corrected. Anyway, if you feel that there's a chance that their behavior is somewhat related to the wellness of the body, then we need to look at doing dietary changes and dietary support and cleanses and detoxifications that will help try and bring that body and those systems back into balance. So avoid kibble if you can. I know not everybody is prepared to do that. There are some great supplements. Volhard has them as well. There are some great supplements to put into kibble if you're trying to improve the nutritional value of whatever kibble you're feeding. Home cooked is a really good option as long as you are confident that it is balanced. Raw diets also have to be balanced. And then these products that I have found that I like, they take care of all of that balance. They are non-synthetic. They are giving us the benefit of a raw diet without having to do all the math and the preparation. So I would love to help you. I would love to do a wellness coaching session. If you've got a dog that has some behavioral issues or some wellness issues that potentially are nutritionally related, and many of them are, most of them are, let me know. happy to sit down and chat with you about some of those things, especially if you have questions about getting started with those products. All right, chat with you soon.